Horrid Lorry. It was a busy time on the island of Sodor. There were many passengers and lots of goods to be delivered too. One morning, BoCo arrived late at the docks with a delivery for a ship. Cranky, the new crane, was quick to criticize.
"About time. These ships can't be kept waiting," he grumbled. "They have important cargo. If they miss the tides, they will be delayed in the docks. You should look up to the ships and show more respect. You are, after all, only little."
BoCo was cross. "Little? I'm a big diesel. It's not my fault if we've all got too much work, and one small delay on the branch line can have a knock-off effect," he retorted.
"Then perhaps the lorries will be coming soon and will do your job better," persisted Cranky.
"Lorries?" gasped BoCo. "I had never heard that lorry do my work. It's disgraceful." When BoCo arrived at the shed, he told the other engines what Cranky had said. "Stuff and nonsense," snorted James. "We engines run this island," added Henry. "What if the lorries do arrive?" worried BoCo. "They do, all right," said a voice. It was Sir Topham Hatt standing nearby when he heard everything. "I've just ordered 4 new lorries to help with the busy work on Edward's branch line. It's just to give you engines an easier time, just an experiment." The engines were dismayed. A few days later, the new lorries arrived at the docks. Cranky was delighted.
"Here, you down there. Your job's already done now. These lorries are going to take over. One of them wants to talk to you."
The lorry spoke bluntly with no politeness. "What's that smelly box of scrap iron doing here?" one of them sneered, who had a number 2 on his license. "Be off with you!" "Scrap iron," retorted BoCo. "Smelly box of scrap iron? Pah!" And he flounced away for his next train. Now these lorries, one of them stood out. Unlike the other 3, this one was painted blue, had number 4 on the license, and thought the railway and the engines were quite nice. A little later, BoCo met Donald Douglas. Another lorry, who had a number 1 on his license, was being rude to the twins. Then he saw BoCo. "Oh, look, it's a big green goblin on wheels." "Ha! You'll be scrapped. Just you wait and see," he laughed rudely as he rumbled away. "Oh, shakes, he's a fatal nuisance," exclaimed Donald.
"Very rotten,"
agreed Douglas. Then the blue lorry suddenly drove up to the 3 engines.
Aren't you gonna sort us too?"
Douglas asked suspiciously. The blue lorry was quiet at first. Then he spoke up. "I'm sorry about my brothers," he apologized. "They're a bit difficult." He then drove off to do his work, leaving the 3 engines feeling awkward. The next engine to meet a lorry was Edward. The lorry rolled into the clay pits and laughed. "Ha! No wonder this railway's in a mess. You belong in the museum, not working on the branch line." Edward was quite offended. "Well, I might look old," he replied, "but I'm still really useful." "Useful? Bah!" scoffed the lorry. Just you tootle off like the rest of you teapots.
Teapots?
Hissed Edward fiercely. Don't bother arguing with him, said his driver. Let's head off to the flour mill. Edward happily did so, but was shocked to see yet two lorries at the flour mill when he arrived. One of them was a blue lorry, and he had number 4 on his license.
What? Why are you two here?
Why are we here? Laughed the lorry with a number 3 on his license. We 4 are doing your work now. You're far too slow. The foreman spoke to Edward's driver. I'm sorry, Charlie. We decided to use these lorries for the flour deliveries instead. Times are changing, I'm afraid. Edward might be old, replied his driver, but he's reliable. Edward trundled sadly away to the vicarage orchard. He didn't see, but the 4th lorry looked unhappy to have taken Edward's work away from him. At the end of Edward's branch line, it ran through a narrow gorge at the clay pits, but vehicles had to tackle a steep and dangerous road. When Edward arrived, he saw the lorry up on the road. It was loaded with rock. That lorry's in trouble, thought Edward. Then, up on the gorge, was the blue lorry. Edward also saw was driving up the hill safely until he saw the other lorry. Out of my way! Shouted the red lorry. The blue one swerved out of the other lorry's way just in time as he raced off the hill. Edward knew he was right. The lorry plunged off the cliff. The blue lorry was safe, but the red one wasn't because he was badly damaged, and the driver was thrown clear. You stupid lorry, he yelled fiercely. That's what you get for driving recklessly. The lorry could barely reply with a feeble, ouch, he muttered. He was damaged beyond the repair and taken back to the docks. BoCo and Donald looked at the lorry and laughed. What's this lump of steaming scrap iron? BoCo teased. I'll be back, growled the lorry, so you can wipe that silly smile off your air intake or smoke box. Huh? Laughed Donald, and wished him loudly. Then Butch, the breakdown vehicle, arrived. He was towing the lorry from the flour mill. What happened? Asked Edward's driver. He was overloaded with flour, replied Butch, and he broke down. Edward thought it was hilarious. Not very useful now, are you? Grrr, growled the lorries. Then Douglas whistled excitedly. They're bringing the 3rd lorry on the branch. What happened to that one? Douglas asked. Oh, him? Said Butch. That dumb lorry was reversing and fell straight into the sea. Later, Bill and Ben arrived. They looked at the 3 lorries and laughed. Well, 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 the Brothers Grimm. Smashed, broken, and sunk. That is quite enough, said a well-known voice. It was Sir Topham Hatt. Now then, I understand wanting to prove yourselves incapable of the job, but this is not the way to achieve it. The 3 horrid lorries began to feel sorry for themselves. From what I've heard, Sir Topham Hatt continued, you 3 have been very careless with your work, and now instead of helping to make things easier for the engines, you've just made things worse. You 3 have been nothing but rude to them, and I will not tolerate that. I'm sorry for the chaos they caused, sir, said the blue lorry, who just arrived with a worried, very look on his face. They always tend to be like that, and I'm really sorry for their actions. Yeah, you should be, snarled the lorries. Silence, snaps her topping hat. Now then, as for you, what should we call you? I always thought that Alexander was a nice name, but usually Alex for short, replied the blue lorry. Yes, says her topping hat. So, would you like to be called Alexander or Alex? Alex for now, sir, answered the blue lorry. Very well, says her topping hat. Alex has now proven to be very reliable and careful about his work, knowing to watch where he's going and not to race at dangerous speed. Therefore, while you three will be sent back to the mainland, Alex here is now a proud part of my railway. Why, thank you, sir, said Alex happily. Welcome to Sodor, Alex, whistled Bill and Ben together. Soon the twins brought the lorries back to the dock, and Cranky loaded them onto the ship and sailed back to the mainland. They glared at Alex as he was making amends with BoCo, Edward, and the Scottish twins. They grumbled as they were loaded onto the ship. Alex now roars along the road on Edward's branch line. He carries lots of things like barrels, crates, rocks, etc., just as the steam engines now work even easier to make sure that his Horrid brothers, the lorries, never return to Sodor.